Hi, Michael. Stand by, steady cam. And 3, 2, 1. Cue home track, rolling away.
A confession, an expected court appearance, and the reenactment of a heinous crime. Expecting all of those things in connection to that man right there. Joran van der Sloot. He's expected to make his first court appearance in Lima, Peru today. Police say that van der Sloot has confessed, did it on Monday night, to killing Stephany Flores Ramirez, a 21-year-old Peruvian woman he met in a casino a little more than a week ago. Now, tomorrow authorities are also expected to take van der Sloot to the scene of the crime, to have him reconstruct what he says happened. Now, we want to go to that scene of the crime. Router 147 there. We've got Jean Casarez of In Session on CNN's sister network, True TV. Jean, just fill us in on what's happening. You're right there at the hotel. What's been happening today? What are you expecting in the hours ahead?
We are. You know, let's tell everybody, we are right here at the Hotel TAC. This is where prosecutors say this horrific murder happened. Behind me, I want to show everybody, that's the front door. You can see that there's a lot of newspaper on it. They don't want people walking in or even looking in, but people still are at the hotel. We've been waiting all day because prosecutors, the next step in the legal process is the reenactment. Now, this is very interesting because it's very different from the United States and other jurisdictions. Joran van der Sloot having confessed to murdering Stephany Flores. The next step would be for him to come to the scene right here. Look at the access we have. We're able to stand right in front of the hotel that was the crime scene and currently is what prosecutors will have him show them exactly what he did, how he did it, and all of that time span. Now, we want to tell you that law enforcement have just confirmed with us for the first time that, in fact, Joran van der Sloot in the early morning hours of Sunday morning actually walked through that door of the hotel, leaving Stephany Flores alive, very much alive in her hotel room, and walked over to the nearby market. Let's show everybody that nearby market. We call it a convenience store. There's gas stations there, but he bought, according to law enforcement, coffee and bread. Well, while he was doing that, Stephany Flores got on his computer and started looking him up and finding out his background, a little bit about him. Well, Joran van der Sloot walked back with the coffee and the bread, and he walked back into the hotel up to the 3rd floor. But what we have now confirmed with law enforcement is that Stephany Flores confronted him about what she had found out about him in the last few minutes in regard to Natalee Holloway. An argument ensued. She wanted to leave the room. He wouldn't let her leave the room. Joran van der Sloot told authorities that he slapped her first, she slapped him first, then he slapped her, and that he took her neck at that point of time. And that was the beginning of the end of Stephany Flores. Now, law enforcement also just confirmed with us there is no sign of sexual assault on her, but that Joran admitted that he had been using marijuana at the time of the attack.
Jean, really appreciate that. Great wrap-up there. Jean Casarez of True TV. Appreciate it. We'll be checking with you as developments come up too. What a story. Now, van der Sloot is considered still a suspect in another high-profile case. You've probably heard about it. The disappearance of the American teenager Natalee Holloway. That happened in Aruba back in 2005. Well, earlier today, I talked to a former FBI agent who is now a private investigator. His name is Harold Copus. And what happened was Holloway's family enlisted him to help when their daughter went missing. When you first went down there, did you have a sense that you were going to be able to find out what happened? I mean, was there a level of confidence in the early days that this thing would be solved?
No.
No?
No, quite frankly. What was happening is you had a mystery. You had a girl that had disappeared. There was a presumption that she'd been killed. And the question was, obviously our target was van der Sloot, but how can you pin this on him? So there wasn't a lot of high expectations, quite frankly. It was just, let's go in, let's do our work, and let's see what's going to happen.
And after the months you ended up spending on the case, going to Aruba and working here, what did you learn about van der Sloot? What kind of person emerged in your mind?
Probably someone who was, at that time, who was about 17 or 18 years old, who did not appear to have the standard things you'd see in teenagers, hanging out in bars, gambling, doing things that you wouldn't expect a 17-year-old to be doing.
What was the difficulty being an investigator down there? You're in a foreign place, obviously, but you're also dealing with somebody whose dad has position, and not just position in the community, but in the legal system.
Well, that made it difficult. This case could have been probably solved a lot quicker if the police had acted even faster. When this first happened, they viewed it as just a disappearance of a girl, not a lot of attention. She'll show up. And quite frankly, when you work a case, the first 48, 72 hours are critical. We lost that.
What else did you come up against as you tried to unravel this? There just seems to me to be so many theories.
Yes.
Endless numbers of theories. There's a fisherman's hut. There's the sex slavery trade allegation out there as well, that he actually sold her off into the sex trade. And then there's the accidental, or she was dumped at sea. Why so many theories and no fact?
Well, I think because it's like working any other case, and I worked major cases when I was in the Bureau, and you have to take each one of those and you have to run them down. And you have to, because you don't know which one's really going to catch and which one's the real story. So, for instance, on the sex trade, it made sense. In some sense, the word is a theory. It did not hold water. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't a sex trade issue coming out of Aruba. There was. She just wasn't part of it. So then the next thing is, what makes it so difficult? Well, one of which is that there wasn't a lot of cooperation. Some of that could be, let's protect our own. Some of it could be, gee, we know we're in charge. After all, this is our country. We can do it better than anyone else. They just don't have that many murders down there.
Did you end up with a, well, let's say, favorite theory?
I think so. I think when you piece together the number of interviews, you could conclude that, and this was interviews with people who were very close to this, and maybe even a participant, it turns out now, but they were obviously, that night, had been drinking. They had been at Carlos and Charlie's. They get in a car. They go up to the Fisherman Huts area. That was confirmed. They were there. One of the Calpos said that. Then it gets a little murky right after that, what happens. You talk to the fisherman there, and he'll say, well, gosh, somebody broke in, the night she disappeared, someone broke into my hut. And then he talks about the fish cage that's missing. You start adding these things together, more than likely, that is an island that you could not bury someone in the ground. That's rock. And maybe it's 3 millimeters deep for dirt. So if you're going to dispose of someone, you put them in a crypt for burial or drop them out in the sea.
In a cage where the body's not going to float up. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly right.
When you heard he was arrested again, your immediate reaction?
I was surprised.
You were?
Quite frankly, I did not see the nature of him as being violent. Now, we hear a lot of things today that maybe he's a serial killer and all this. All sheer just speculation. No one really knows. I'd love to be able to interview him and hear some things from him and ask him the questions. I don't have to worry too much about it. I'm sure the FBI is doing that now down in Peru.
Do you think that there's a chance that he may now tell what he really knows about Holloway?
Well, let me say it to you like this. If you were sitting there and you're in Peru and I told you you're going to get 35 years in our prison system, or I can maybe cut a deal with you and give you, some fruit once every month or so, I guarantee you'd cut a deal and tell me what was going on.
Yeah, well, it's a tough prison system. What are his chances there?
I wouldn't want to be in it. And I've visited a lot of prisons in this country, and the worst we have would be like a 5-star hotel compared to where he's going.
Yeah, dangerous place.
Very dangerous.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's just part of what we talked about. You can see the entire conversation on our webpage, cnn.com/backstory. It's going to be up there by the end of the show, working on it right now.